What's up, guys? My name is Mike. My hobby is motorcycles, and thanks for checking out the channel. Over the past couple years, I've bought and sold multiple motorcycles just kind of as a hobby, kind of a side gig. Buy damaged motorcycles, used motorcycles, fix them, flip them, ride them, keep them for a couple years. A lot of my friends want to know the process. How do I find the bikes? What kind of bikes do I typically want to purchase? How much do they cost? What really goes into fixing these things? Is it something you have to spend hours on? And in some cases, yes, it really is. So an opportunity's come up for me today to pick up a bike. It's a pretty cool bike. It's on my bucket list of bikes to own. And I finally just moved into my new house. I'm watching actually my brother's bike right there, watching that for him for a little while. This is where I'm gonna be working on my new project. For this next one, I thought I'd kind of give a vlog of start to finish, how it goes, buying the bike, how I found it, fixing it, riding it, and then maybe selling it. So we'll see how it goes. All right, guys, I just got a call from the owner of the bike, and he's ready for me to come check it out. This is how I transport all my motorcycles. I've got this trailer hitch kind of bike rack thing going on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook that up to my truck, and we'll go check this thing out. Alright, so now that we got the trailer all hooked up, most important thing you gotta have are these straps. I got a bunch in the toolbox already, so I think I'm good. We also need a ramp, which we also have. Let's go check this thing out. Pretty excited. So at this point, I've actually already purchased the bike, but I'm glad the guy didn't take the ad down yet, because I can kind of walk through the negotiation and my thoughts about what this bike could resell for. So he's asking $2,200. He says it's currently not running. The throttle manifold broke. He has a replacement part on the bike. It's just not fully installed. It's a small project, and he's asking $2,200. So if we go to NATA guides, we can see I would typically look at low retail or less because it's not running and it's not in mint condition. So $1,800 is more of a fair value, I think, than the $2,200. If we look over here at Kelley Blue Book, the suggested retail, if you're buying this at a dealership, if it was in running shape, would be $3,800. Trade-in value is always a good backup because this is close to what a dealer will give you for the bike. Worst case scenario, you can't get anybody to buy it, which that rarely happens, but this is a good fallback plan. So these numbers are telling me what I could possibly get for it, after it's been fixed. And I like to take the average of the Kelley Blue Book retail and the NATA guides average retail, which in this case comes out to about $3,100, and that's roughly what I would expect to get for this bike when it's all fixed up and good to go. So I initially made an offer for $1,500, which he turned down, and he came back with $1,800, which I thought at the time that was fair. It's less than the low retail on NATA guides, so we settled on $1,800. However, when I went and looked at the bike in person, it did not look as clean as you can see in this photo. So I told him, it may be a little bit more work than I had in mind. Respectfully, I think I'm going to have to pass. And his reaction was to actually offer to sell it for $1,500, my original asking price. Now, I was able to kind of gauge the situation, and I figured if he would take $1,500, he would probably take $1,400. So I made an offer for $1,400. I said, I can't hear the bike run. It's kind of a gamble. You never know, what you're getting into until you really open up the bike and look into it. So I'd do $1,400 cash, and he took it. So that was the price we settled on, and it was a great starting point. And I'm glad we knocked the price down, because now, as you'll see in the video, we found something that was a little bit more than just a throttle manifold that needed to be replaced. So the key here is to negotiate. There's always a little bit of wiggle room in most cases, especially with these project bikes. So here it is, the Buell XB12R Firebolt. I wanted one of these bikes back when I was in high school so bad, but I could not afford one. And now I just picked this thing up for a steal. It does need some work. Cosmetically, it's in kind of rough shape. This thing is definitely an ideal project for me, assuming everything checks out once I go through my to-do list on this bike. I'm really going to start diving into this thing probably tomorrow, but tonight I'm just going to kind of do a little once-over, look at it a little bit closer, and we'll see what we've gotten into. So right out of the gate, you can see the difference between a project bike and a complete bike. This is going to be my toy for the next few weeks. Pretty scuffed up. A lot of these we'll probably be able to buff out, or at least polish it up, make it look presentable. Pull this off. You can see whoever owned this before me tried to paint this. If you use cheap paint on these windscreens, they'll tend to get that kind of eggshell cracking effect, which just drives me nuts, because I painted a windshield on the last bike that I did and it came out perfect. I didn't have any of this stuff, so I don't quite know how this happens, but it doesn't look good, so we'll have to do something about that. I believe this goes on top of or it goes below the gas tank cover. So in these bikes, the gas tank is actually in the frame, so the frame is the gas tank, which I think is really cool. And I've been told the oil is in the swing arm. Here's the cover. As you can see, there's no gas in this. I'm going to go ahead and put this over here on the workbench, out of the way. We've got this bungeed here because it was loose. And then this is covering up the main issue, which is the throttle body manifold. From what I was told by the previous owner, this bike stopped running on him on I-4, pulled over, ended up trailering it back home, took all the covers off, looked down at the throttle body manifold, and the butterfly valve was stuck. He replaced the manifold with off of another used bike, because unfortunately sometimes you got to do that with these bikes that are no longer in production. He got some used parts for it. The butterfly valve works perfectly. However, he didn't install the injector rail before installing the manifold. He tried to install the injectors after the fact, once he installed the manifold inside the frame and in the engine, and then there's no room. He can't access it to seat the injectors all the way. He hooked the thing up to a battery. The battery's out right now. Obviously there's no battery in here, but he did hook it up to a battery so I could see the mileage, and the bike will prime when you turn the key. The injectors are squirting out gas, so it looks like the systems are working properly. He just didn't install things in the right order. Let's go ahead and take the seat off. I may rewrap this seat. I haven't decided. When I have it all cleaned up, then we'll really decide. Now, he had some sort of weird seat bag, and he told me that the rear seat, which I do feel it just wraps around the rear seat. So I'm going to attempt to remove this here in a minute and see the condition of the rear seat. Also, another thing to note, this bike is belt driven, which is kind of cool. No chain. The bike has about 13,000 miles on it, so it's in pretty rough shape for only 13,000 miles. Your ram air here is disconnected somehow, so probably just missing a screw or a tab or something. However, something I did notice is this bike has probably been wheelied because it's known for having an insane amount of torque. And if you look at the cast piece that holds the speedometer in, there's this crack here. And that's just from the front end slamming down multiple times, most likely. When you've got a windscreen covering that, it's not something that you'll see, but I may still replace it. I haven't decided yet. It's not really, it's more cosmetic to me than anything else. So if the windscreen's covering it, it doesn't bother me. I may keep it that way, but we'll see. I tend to like to tidy these bikes up pretty nicely. Definitely gonna clean it up. You'd be surprised just cleaning the fairings, how much that'll do for the bike overall. And then when I clean the frame and all that, it's gonna look like a pretty decent bike for what I paid. My buddy Dave joined me here, drove all the way from Melbourne to come check out the new project. By the way, he's gonna be filming too, so check out his channel. It's just the other day, right? Just launched it, so let's get him up to a decent number of subscribers. I think I'm at like 40 when this video is going up. The truth is, we've been doing projects like this for the past couple of years. We just haven't been filming it. This won't be the last bike you see us do, I'm sure. Alright, so we've made a little bit of progress here. We went ahead and we took the tail section off, cleaned it up just a little bit. It was pretty messy in here before, just took some WD-40 to it. Right now, we're going to focus on getting the throttle body out, as well as the fuel injector rail, which you can see right there is this rail piece right here, and 2 injectors right there on either side. We're gonna go by the manual. David's gonna go get his laptop, and we're gonna go by the Buell owner's manual on first look. We got to get this clamp off. We're gonna remove this whole rubber fitting here, and then we should be able to see the manifold, and then we'll most likely be able to see the mounting holes. So yeah, we removed a few extra parts here. We took off the front cowling. We're just stepping through to remove the throttle body manifold. We've got everything unplugged. We took out the, what was this called? Spark plugs plug into this dude, right? And that was right in here, like so. And you can see there's one coil.
Uploading part 5 right now.
There's the other coil.
Yeah.
We also loosened these manifold bolts down there, and I believe the next step is actually to remove them from the other side.
We're still looking for a beer sponsor.
Yep.
So this could have been you.
All right, Dave, what are we trying to do here?
Trying to loosen this throttle body, socket head screw blind.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can
we
even
can see why the previous owner tried to install the injectors after installing the throttle body, because it would give you so much more room to tighten the throttle body down.
I think I moved it a quarter turn by luck.
Very, very tight space here. All right, we got some new development. What do we got, Dave?
Okay, so we pulled the throttle body, and we saw a little brown stuff.
Not just a little,
A
lot of little.
So
You can kind of see it right in there.
So the inlet tracks to the valves were full to the lip with liquid, and it didn't have the gasoline smell that was coming off the rest of the bike. So we soaked some up with paper towels. Pretty sure it's water. Guess the brown is rust. I don't know what in there is rusting. If this is a cast iron cylinder head or valve guide, something. Maybe it's the valves themselves. So I cleaned it out with dry paper towel. Now I'm using some alcohol to soak up the water. Scrub the rust out with a paper towel. The condition of the engine beyond the valve tracks is debatable, but we won't get there until we've gotten the water out.
There's you can yeah, there you go. Maybe some soot, maybe some rust, but I don't see it around the inlet, so I'm gonna have to get the camera down in there to actually see it myself.
Yeah. Because he said he kept it in a shed, but
Leaky shed.
yeah, it could have been in a leaky shed. He could have kept it out just overnight, past couple days, trying to sell it, and it could have rained right into this thing, right through that, and right into the engine. All right, Dave. So what are we thinking now? We're gonna attack the spark plugs, right?
Yep, I'm gonna take a spark plug out, if I can get one out, to try to take a picture down the hole, see if we got any liquid inside the engine.
Seeping past.
The main thing is we don't want to start it with liquid inside,
Yeah.
because that would probably increase the compression, blow a head gasket, bad things, stuff breaks. Oh, spark plug!
Nice. All right, let's take some pictures.
Spark plug looks janky.
Look at that. Oh wow, knocked the dirt right off of it. If nothing else, it needs new spark plugs, that's for sure.
Okay, so we were able to, using a light, see down into the spark plug hole, which obviously we expected to be dirty. On the front one, we couldn't really make heads or tails. It was just too dark. But on the rear one, I don't know if we can...
Yep,
oh
you can
yeah,
see
there we go. So it was all brown, which is not a great sign for a cylinder. I mean... But I bumped the bike while doing it, and you can see the brown slosh around.
Yeah, and there's black separated in there.
So we know it's got water in at least the rear cylinder, which is, you know, the same amount of effort to get to as the front cylinder.
All right, so we decided to call it quits at about 4 in the morning on Friday night. After we found the water in the engine, we figured that was a good stopping point. And I really have to read through the service manual to find out what operations have to be done in order to drop the engine. While I was reading through the service manual, I saw that there's a technique to actually remove the frame rather than removing the whole engine. I think we may go that route and leave the engine attached to the swing arm and the rear wheel. Got a lot of scrap wood lying around the garage, so I may build a little engine support stand that I can use after removing the frame. Labeling bags, staying organized, taking pictures, that is the key to being successful with something like this, because there are a lot of nuts and bolts on this bike. This will be the first video in a series of resurrecting or hopefully rebuilding this Buell. If you like what you see so far, like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned. I'm going to try to upload a video each week. So thanks for checking out the channel, thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you on the next vlog.